Have you ever shown up to the wrong event and just went with it? I accidentally crashed a funeral and ended up giving the eulogy for a complete stranger. Last month, my coworker Jake invited me to his uncle's memorial service. He texted me the address of some community center downtown and said it started at 2 o'clock. I'd never met his uncle, but Jake seemed really close to him, so I wanted to show support. I put on my black suit, bought a sympathy card, and drove across town to be there for my friend. When I walked into the community center, I was surprised by how packed it was. There had to be 200 people there, way more than I expected for Jake's family gathering. I looked around for Jake, but couldn't spot him anywhere in the crowd. An elderly woman in the front row was crying, and people kept going up to hug her. I figured she must be Jake's aunt, so I approached her with my sympathy card. "I'm so sorry for your loss," I said, handing her the card. "Jake talks about his uncle all the time." She looked confused for a second, then smiled through her tears. "Thank you so much for coming. Harold would have loved meeting you. Are you one of the speakers today?" Before I could ask what she meant, she was already introducing me to other family members. "This is one of Harold's friends," she kept saying. "He's going to speak about him later." I tried to correct her, but every time I opened my mouth, someone else would come over to shake my hand and thank me for being there. The whole situation was spinning out of control, but everyone seemed so grateful that I didn't have the heart to disappoint them. Then the funeral director approached me with a clipboard. "You're scheduled to speak fourth," he said, "right after Harold's grandson. Do you have your notes ready?" My heart started pounding. "Actually, there might be some confusion," I started to say, but he was already walking away, calling over his shoulder. "You're on in about 15 minutes. The family is really looking forward to hearing your stories about Harold." I pulled out my phone to text Jake, but I had no signal in the building. I was completely trapped. These people were expecting me to get up and talk about someone I'd never met in my entire life. I spent the next 10 minutes frantically eavesdropping on conversations, trying to learn anything I could about Harold. I heard he was 83, loved fishing, had 3 grandchildren, and worked as a mechanic for 40 years. His wife mentioned he always fixed neighbors' cars for free and never missed Sunday dinner with the family. When they called my name, my legs felt like jelly as I walked to the podium. 200 people were staring at me expectantly, and Harold's widow was in the front row with tears in her eyes. "I didn't know Harold as long as many of you," I began, which was technically true. But in the time I knew him, I could see he was someone who believed in helping others. I talked about how rare it is to find people who give freely of their time and skills, like Harold did with fixing cars. I mentioned how Sunday family dinners show what someone truly values in life. I even threw in something about how the best fishermen are usually the most patient people. The crowd was nodding along, and I could see people wiping their eyes. Harold's widow was smiling and crying at the same time. I kept it short and ended with, "Harold clearly touched many lives, and his legacy of kindness will live on through all of you." The applause was thunderous. People were standing up, and Harold's family was beaming at me. His grandson came up afterward and said, "That was beautiful. Thank you for capturing Grandpa's spirit so perfectly." As I was leaving, Harold's widow hugged me tightly. "I don't know how you knew Harold," she whispered, "but you understood him completely. That meant the world to our family." I never did find Jake. Turns out I'd gone to the wrong community center entirely. Jake's uncle's service was happening across town at the exact same time. When I finally reached him later, he said, "Where were you? I looked everywhere for you." I told him I got held up with something important, which wasn't really a lie. I'd accidentally given one family the closure they needed while completely missing the friend who actually invited me. 2 weeks later, I got a thank you card from Harold's family with a picture of him holding a huge fish. He looked exactly like the kind of man who would fix your car for free and never miss Sunday dinner. Sometimes the wrong place turns out to be exactly where you need it to be.